Poštovani gledalci, ovaj današnji video bi trebao samo da najavi jedan veoma značajan događaj koji će se odigrati 26. oktobra u Los Angelesu u crkvi Sveti Sava u San Gabrielu. Sa početkom u 6 sati uveče to će biti gala, banket i večera za prikupljanje novca za obnovu najstarije srpske pravoslavne crkve ovde u Južnoj Kaliforniji. To je crkva Sveti Sava u Los Angelesu, koja se nalazi u istočnom Los Angelesu, odakle su se stvorile prve organizacije i odakle su prvi doseljenici napravili crkvu bez zaista puno para. Mi sada pokušavamo tu crkvu da obnovimo jer vreme učinilo svoje, krov je procureo, dosta štete je napravljeno i tu štetu treba popraviti. Renovacija je već počela, već je uređen kompletno krov, ali ima puno toga još da se sredi kako bi ova istorijska vrednost i kako bi ova istorija srpske zajednice u Los Angelesu ostala da živi i dalje.
It has so much meaning for me. My grandparents were some of the earliest settlers here in Los Angeles, and they were some of the people the first that built the church. My grandfather actually bought the bells for the church. My parents were married in the church. But what it means most to me is, and I'm going to cry when I say this, these people worked hard jobs for very little money, and somehow with their few pennies and dollars, they were able to do that and to build a church and to keep their culture. They brought their religion, they brought orthodoxy and srpstvo with them in their hearts and created a community of people so that their children and their grandchildren like me could share that, could speak the language, could know who we are and where we came from. And it just touches my heart. No patriarch sent money to build a church. Nobody sent a priest. Nobody did anything. These people brought this in their own hearts and were able to do this. And that was the foundation of the Serbian community here in Los Angeles. So every time I see that church, it's all those wonderful memories, all the picnics that we had around the church, and all the people that are buried in the cemetery who I remember all the stories about them. And that's all part of our history here and what our culture means to me.
Now, during the time, the church was a little bit damaged, and now we are trying to collect money to rebuild it and to make the church still alive.
Yes, absolutely, and it's critical that we all take part in that and help. It's a piece of our history, and while we now mostly use the church only for funerals and maybe parastoses for zadušnica, it's a part of our history, and I love it every time I go into it. It has such a sweetness in its simplicity, and it's the pure faith, I think, that people brought that you feel when you go into that church. And I hope that everybody that has roots in this community comes and brings their families, because none of us would know each other, none of us would know who we are if it wasn't for that place where it all started.
When that church was built, how many family was around the church?
I don't know. I would imagine not more than maybe 30 or 50 at the most families. It was a small community then. Everyone knew everyone, and they either lived right there around that church or somewhere in the downtown area. None of them had cars. They took the streetcar to church. On Saturday was Serbian school, whatever the Pope Mirko, before me, but there were other priests, would teach the kids on Saturday Serbian language and religion, and then a church on Sunday. That was the focus of their lives, of the community. I mean, these people came, they didn't know anybody here, they didn't know English, they didn't know any about America except to work hard every day and feed their families. And their one time to enjoy themselves was Sunday at church when they got together. And then from then everybody became kumovi and everybody connected. Everybody brought more relatives, more brothers and sisters from, mostly here in California. Our community early was made by the early immigrants came from Crna Gora, Boka, and Herzegovina mostly. So all the families just connected that way. Yeah.
Društvo Jedinstvo je osnovano 1903. godine jer su tu naši Srbi živjeli U to vrijeme oni su zvali to vala, a većinom su bili Srbi, Hrvati, Italijani i Meksikanaca, mada danas su gotovo 100% Meksikanci.
U ovom kraju ovde?
U ovom kraju ovdje.
Znači ti prvi starosedeoci kad su došli, oni su živjeli dosta blizu jedni drugih?
Oni su živjeli blizu jedno drugog, poznavali su jedne druge i pomagali su jedni druge. Život je bio težak. Kad su oni ovo kupovali, zemljište gdje je danas groblje, to je dala Radanović porodica, srpska porodica Radanović. I na tom zemljištu je danas se nalazi naše srpsko groblje. A hala je ograđena poslije nego što se crkva je otvorena 1909. godine, a hala je otvorena 1925. ili 6. ne znam tačno, ali tu je. Naši ljudi koji su bili tu htjeli su da imaju svoju crkvu. Crkva je bila mala i dali su joj ime Sveti Sava. I u južnoj Kaliforniji to je najstarija naša srpska pravoslavna crkva. Tu su se naši Srbi sakupljali, tu su održavali piknike i to im je bilo jedino mjesto gdje su oni većinom bili zajedno.
And that's where all my family and everybody would go on the slavas and the different and funerals and everything. I don't know, my mother and father were very instrumental in the beginning of Jedinstvo, which I'm now the president of, Jedinstvo, and we own the property, and the church has been there since 1907. And when I was a little kid, I would go into the church, and everybody would stand, and it was just fun to look up and count all the stars on the roof. That was just my recollection of when we'd go to church there. But it was always kind of neat to see how the ladies cooked in the cellar of the dvorana, the hall, and they would carry these big platters of food out to the banquet area or up into the hall. It was just, these are memories that I have of all that. And now I have 5 brothers buried at the cemetery, and I'm the only Salata left, except for all my grandchildren and their parents.
What kind of meaning do you have that St. Sava Church, which is the mother church in LA?
I have a real heartfelt feeling for the church. I'm very happy that they want to restore it and keep it going. They just put a new roof on, and it would be great to see the interior. But when you look at it, when you go in there now, the peeling of the frescoes that have just been painted, it's very, very sad, and it disheartens me to see that, because that's where we all were in the beginning, all of us. And the reason I think that I love the Jedinstvo, we have an annual picnic every year, is because all the churches get together and they are at one. Yeah. And it's not this church, that church, and I love it.
This St. Sava Church is mother church for all churches in Southern California. So they should everybody participate a little bit in that renovation, and I hope so they're gonna...
I think that they will. I think you'll see a very big outpouring because of all the old families that are here, the families that have connections to the beginning of Jedinstvo, or even the building of the St. Sava Church in 1907, because it was built by the members of the Jedinstvo Benevolent Society for the Serbian people here in Los Angeles.